and welcome to our interview today. So we have another amazing artist to talk to today, and I'm really happy to be here with Paul Chantry, a co-artistic director of Chantry Dance Company, to take this interview. My name is Ray Piper. I'm the other co-artistic director of Chantry Dance, and today we are going to be interviewing the amazing Johnny Kim. So let me just tell you guys a little bit about Johnny. Johnny is one of the most multi-talented performance and creative talents out there. He is a singer, a dancer, an acrobat, a musician, a choreographer, and a director. And his career has literally taken him all over the world. He's performed in some incredibly high-profile shows, such as Dragone's House of Dancing Water. And he is now an artistic director with Cirque du Soleil. So Johnny is actually a very dear friend and colleague of mine who I had the honor and pleasure of working with back in 2004 to 2005 for Jean Ann Ryan Productions. And we were actually dance partners together. And we're just thrilled that he's able to join us today from Las Vegas, believe it or not. So hi, Johnny. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just wonderful. So we have some questions for you, if that's okay. And we're just going to, well, we'll jump straight on, shall we?
Cool. So first question, Johnny. As Ray said in her introduction, that you're like a multi-talented performer and all of these things that you sing, you dance, you act, you do everything. So what really got you into it all at the beginning?
That's a tough question, actually. I would say when my parents forced me to take piano lessons when I was younger, I think that's what started it. But I just didn't know what it was exactly that I wanted to do. I knew that I loved music. I was a gymnast growing up as well. And then I think it was when I was going to college and I didn't really know what I wanted to major in. And I thought that music education would be kind of a good default just because I loved the piano, I loved music. I knew that it was a huge part of me, and it still is. But hiding behind an instrument, I thought, was a little bit something that maybe wasn't in my path. And it was a good friend of mine back in high school, Sarah Shea, and she had convinced me to take a ballet class at the university. And I knew nothing about it. I just went with my gut because of the gymnastics background and musical theater and shows that I did in high school. And I remember walking into that dance studio and seeing the live accompanists in the corner. Here we are at the bar. We started pliés, and there was something about the movement matching with the music and that coming in tandem that made me kind of want to do it more. And as I progressed through that, then I realized that I wanted to be on stage. And so from a professional standpoint, I started off as a professional dancer first, and everything else kind of came into play based on my background from before, and then how I transcended the skill set from just diving into other things with circus arts and stuff like that. So it's kind of a well-rounded background, but it had no true focus until I was probably about 18. And it was like, ta-da, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we have obviously spoken about this incredible array of talents that you have, and I should just let our viewers know Johnny has all these crazy talents, but one that always used to completely, like, not freak me out, but in a like a really good way freak me out, is I remember you used to ear read music. Like, this guy literally, you would play him, he would hear a song and then play it on the piano for you with no sheet music, just it was there. So, I mean, terrifyingly talented is how I would describe you. But with this, like, this beautiful palette of skills that you have, how would you say that all these different skills have come together, or how have they informed what you do now as a creative?
It's actually, it's so beneficial to me. But the thing is, I don't want to have this pretense that is a prerequisite to be a good artistic director for Cirque du Soleil or in general. But it definitely works to my advantage, because when you work with an array of artists from 23 different nationalities, but their profiles are all different, because even when we say the word acrobat, that has a lot of different sectors in that word as well. depending on the discipline. And there's also dance, and of course there's live music, so there's a band as well. And because I can speak a specific vocabulary when it comes to movement, when it comes to gymnastics, because that's my background as well, acrobatics, circus arts, but then also music with the band, it creates kind of an environment that's easy to work with, just because there's already a common bond when it comes to just the vocabulary in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So everything becomes more relatable, to be able to launch like a good communication, a good dialogue, to have that connection, to be able to have good intentions as far as what we want to produce on stage. And it just makes it easier. It doesn't mean that it's required, but I do think that to be a good artistic director, you should have some kind of professional performance experience. And it could be anything, even if it was just you being a professional singer your whole life. At least then there's a nuance there as far as the delicacies of artistic intention and all of that is required on stage. But it definitely works in my benefit to have a multitude of different things in my background. It's like an arsenal that I can use to help create new stuff, because that collaboration will always be there.
Fantastic.
Cool. So let's just talk a little bit more about your performance background. Do you have a favorite
Sure.
show that you were a part of? Apart from the one for Soleil?
The funny thing about that one is that I have very many shows that have become my favorite, but I feel like they're only my favorite because of the people.
Okay.
Ray knows that I'm a very personable person. I have a lot of human connection, and I'm a very affectionate, lovey person. And whenever I have a really good connection with a person, it becomes for life. And that kind of overtakes a lot of the feelings when it comes to when I remember this being a good show, a good contract. So that one's tough to say. So maybe I'll answer this in a couple parts. I think on a professional level, I think Dragon's House of Dancing Water is probably one of my favorites because it was a dream to work in a Franco Dragon production. And I think anytime you can get to a point where you can achieve a dream, there's something to be said about that. I also did a production in Singapore called Voyage de la Vie. And in Singapore at the time, this was before Pippin came out on Broadway, where they mixed circus arts with theater. The company was trying to do the same thing prior to all of that. And it didn't work for the Singaporean audiences and the travelers there. But I was in this show and I really enjoyed the fact that there was high caliber circus artists. Our main character was, on Singapore Idol. And we had some dancers in there. And so it was a good mix of all the things that I loved. I'm trying to mesh theater and circus arts, and I love that one. But also because the cast I was in was really great. But I also have to say that one of my favorite contracts are some of the things that people in the industry sometimes look down on, because Jay and I worked with Jane and Ryan Productions and we worked on a cruise ship. And I think there's a stigma with this whole idea of working on a cruise ship. And to no fault, I understand some of those ideas, because there are some entertainment groups that are on cruise ships that, okay, maybe it's not the highest caliber of talent, or maybe it's not the highest quality of a production, but it's not something that we should judge either, because performance is performance. And if it brings joy, then that should be something you're proud of, whether it's community theater or you're on Broadway. There's a whole spectrum of stuff. And I appreciated those contracts because it let me travel the world. It let me meet incredible people, but it was a very humbling moment, because when you work to having a dream of going to Dragon and you have all of these things that are provided for you, it's nice to already have been humbled based on the experience you've had before. When you work on a small production company on the high seas, you don't have access to physiotherapy. You have one wardrobe attendant that has to do all of your costumes. There's just a lot of things that you don't have. And when you are then in a production that has a lot of money, or you're a part of a corporation, there are things that are provided to help protect the artists for the sake of the show, to protect their well-being and to have all these things. But if that's all you know as well, then that's the expectation. And so I've known some artists that come right out of, a circus school in Montreal, and their first job is Cirque du Soleil or Dragon. And after that, when they decide to do something else, it's like a huge slap of reality where things are different. You know, I had some friends message me and say, I cannot believe I'm on this ship to where I have to sew my own button. What is going on? But that's the true, to me, roots of what makes you also a great artist, because you are humbled by those moments where the passion and the drive and the love that you have for the art that you're doing is what takes over, and all of those things go to the side. And then you truly find who you are and who you want to be as an artist based on those experiences. So that is one of my favorites too, because I think it helped shape me without me knowing it. I hope that answered your questions. I just have a lot of favorite contracts because they're also unique, and they all bring so much joy, but also a different kind of joy into my life.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking how much I agreed with you. It's very interesting because obviously, like yourself, I did some of those contracts as well, and I think it really helps you not take things for granted. You know, I know quite a lot of opera singers, for instance, who basically have only ever worked at the Royal Opera, and they literally can't handle the thought of not having their makeup done for them, or somebody not cueing them to go on stage. And for me, that's so alien. I'm like, it's fine, I'll do my own makeup. I know my own entrances and exits, and I don't need a dresser. I can do it myself. But then when you get those things, you don't take them for granted. But some people, you know, if that is all they've known, obviously it can be a bit of a reality check if they then move away from that. So no, I'm completely with you on that one.